Hello, hello. How are you doing? Okay. Oops. It is day 10 of Vlogmas. It is hard to believe that I have been going live here for 10 days straight. And in doing that math, figuring that also means that Christmas is in 15 days, y'all. Wow. Time is flying. I will still be here 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time through December 25th, doing these short little lives in honor of Vlogmas. Again, shout out to everybody who tries to catch them live. I appreciate that I am not out here by myself on the internet. And thanks to everybody who is watching and commenting on the replays. Um, Today, we're going to continue with our topic of money. Today's topic is specifically for those who are older or who maybe don't have as many years working left. So that's what we're going to talk about. Before we jump into that, in case somebody here is new, I should introduce myself. My name is Adelia Borshade. But the vast majority of people on the internet know me as Picky Girl Travels the World. I, as the name implies, love to travel. I actually live to travel. And oh, I don't know. About 8 years ago, I set out to live a life that was centered around travel. And here's the thing, you can't travel for free. And so you need money. And that means that on this channel, yes, we talk about my travels. We also talk about the fact that I live outside the US, but we also talk about money. I am a financial educator, and I've made it kind of my job to help folks, probably like you, figure out the answers to some of their financial questions, figure out how to take control of their financial situation so that they can move their life in a direction that they're excited about. So, if you want to know more about money, you want to talk about travel, you want to talk about living abroad, this is the channel for you. If you have not done so already, please subscribe. I would really like to get to 20,000 subscribers before the end of the month. I think I'm at like 19,700. So if you haven't subscribed, but you be here and you be watching, help a sister out and go ahead and do that. This is a hey to everybody who is in the chat. So glad y'all are here. All right. So, today's video is a little different than the previous ones. I got a question. I sent out um, on my email list. I announced that I was doing Vlogmas, and I asked, I said, hey, is there anything in particular y'all want me to talk about? And I got this response. And so today's video, we're going to talk about this particular question. All right. I'm a 58-year-old unemployed contract tech project manager and a vegan chef. Over the last few years, it has been harder to get new gigs. So I relied on my business to take care of me since the pandemic, the recession, all of the things. My income is not where it needs to be for me to pay my expenses next month, let alone planning for retirement or moving abroad. What suggestions do you have for older single women who might be in a similar situation to get on a positive and productive financial track? Okay, so this is the email that I got that prompted today's conversation. Um, Now, uh, I don't know if this person is watching, but maybe they are. Couple of things that come to mind here. As we have talked about earlier this week, there are two things we can do. we can either spend less, or we can earn more, or we can do some too. And so hearing this person's situation, the first thing that I pick up on is it sounds like the primary source of income was the contracting gigs. Those have been fewer and more space in between. So they've relied more on the being a vegan chef. First question I have is, well, what do you want to do? Like, do you still enjoy doing the tech work? Um, is there so because if you don't, like, if those gigs have dried up, but you don't really enjoy that, I'm not gonna tell you to go out there and, like, pound the pavement more to get more of those gigs if you don't like it, because you didn't include that, so I don't know how you feel about it. Being a vegan chef, is that really where you would prefer to spend your time? And where you would hope to make more money. So that's the first thing that I'm wondering about. But immediately in this letter, she states that she cannot pay her current expenses. So I think you'll already know what I'm going to say about that is she's got to figure out a way to lower her expenses. And so let's talk about that a little bit. I think because so many of us, the life that we experience in the United States has clearly defined what versions of our lives are acceptable. Like, what are the boxes that need to be checked? And often, if you don't live your life in that way, you're looked down on, your choices are seen as less than. So, if I was 58 and I needed to immediately lower my expenses. If I am owning a house that maybe still has a mortgage on it, I am going to be looking at, can I rent out some space in that house? Either short term with something like Airbnb, or something longer term like Furnish Finder, where I'm trying to get like travel nurses who often rent places a couple of months at a time, something like that. I'm trying to figure out how can I bring down the expense of managing this home that I own. If don't own a home and I am renting, that means I've got some flexibility. I would be looking at, okay, so how can I bring my overhead costs down? Does that mean getting a roommate, moving in with somebody, bringing a roommate in or two? Or does that mean I am if I'm somebody who it's really, really important to me that I have my own space, and the thought of having a roommate fills me with utter terror, then I've got to downsize to a smaller space and reduce my cost of rent. So that may be going from a two bedroom to a one bedroom, that may be going from a one bedroom to an efficiency. But if we're talking about like I can't meet my expenses from month to month, I got to do something to lower those expenses. And housing typically is our largest expense. Okay. Uh, where is it? Yeah, reduce any and all expenses. Yes. And I know a lot of us, especially on the heels of the pandemic and the ensuing economic chaos that came out of it, on the other end, a lot of us have cut down what we feel like is to the bare bones. I would encourage this person to really go through everything that they spend and have to ask themselves, is this like an absolute requirement? Okay. But so that's what I see in this question. That's the number one priority is being in a place where you can actually meet your expenses. Okay. Um, the second thing that I would talk about is okay, so that's, you gotta spend less, you gotta make more. All right, so let's talk about making more. I would want to know for the vegan chef work that this person does. Um, how are they working? Are they only catering big events? Are they doing like, oh, we're hiring a private chef, for our vacation home? What are they doing? How are they marketing? Y'all, there are so many people who do not want to be in charge of feeding themselves like yours truly. Now, a vegan chef is not going to help me because y'all know I don't eat produce, but I am. It's not generally a week that goes by. I don't see someone who isn't asking for somebody who does meal prep or somebody who does, meals that because their lives are so busy, they're looking for somebody to cook for them. So I would encourage this person to dig into if they want to spend more of their time working as the chef, what are the different ways that they could make money from that? Recipes, there are websites that allow you to test recipes and they pay for that. There are people who just need recipes. Again, doing food prep for people, preparing meals for people, uh, marketing their availability as a vegan chef. Like, is there a place or a space that like rents itself out that maybe you could partner with so that like you can be the recommended person that they give? So I would explore that more. I'd also explore more, if you're not tired of doing the tech work. uh, it sounds like primarily your income from that was doing contracts. If the contracts are not coming like they used to, what about working, not like being contracted by large companies, but what about working for entrepreneurs or other people that need your services? So that's really the question to ask yourself. Identify, these are the things I can do. Who needs this service? Who could pay me for this? That may be organizations, but that may also be individuals. And then it's about getting you in the spaces so that you can let the individuals or the smaller businesses know these are skills you have. These are solutions you can provide for their business or for them. So now, you're 58. You're very close to retirement age. Um, the question is, how much longer do you want to work? What do you want retirement to look like? Because those two things are going to figure in how much money do you need. At 58, you're almost 62. You're technically eligible for Social Security at 62. I know they encourage us to wait until we're 65 or 67 because the check we'll get will be higher. But sometimes it's not worth waiting. So the I would either contact the Social Security Administration or go to their website because I think you can pull this information up on their website. But if you're not comfortable with that, call them to find out what what uh, what size benefit are you likely to receive? And then kind of when you start thinking about retirement, figure that in as well. I've talked about it several times on this chat channel that for me, a lot of my retirement, the vast majority of my retirement savings is on my shoulder because the way teaching works in the state of Texas, I never paid into Social Security. And so I won't be getting my own Social Security as part of my retirement. So my retirement is going to be primarily self-funded. But if you're not sure that that's the case for you, definitely contact the Social Security Administration. Find out how much you got. This is what we were talking about before, about earlier this week, last week. I don't know, y'all. Time doesn't mean anything to me. But it was during Vlogmas when we talked about doing the math for the life you want. often people assume, oh, well, whatever I get from Social Security, it's not going to be enough. But do you know how much it is going to be? And find out from there. Of course, when it comes to actual retirement, my hack, because I have to self-fund my retirement, was to leave the United States. Because the amount of money I would need to live a decent retired life in the United States, I don't know how I was gonna make that happen. And so, again, that's kind of a longer term thing. That's not the immediate I can't pay my bills situation. But if we're talking about you want to retire in the next 5, 6 years, less than a decade, um, then figuring out how much money you're going to need to think about where it is you want to live when you don't work anymore. Again, your Social Security check can go a whole lot further outside of the US than inside. Okay. Number 10 looks at our Social Security numbers every year. You can sign up with Social Security to get an estimate of benefit. It shows how much it would be depending on which year you want to draw it in. Very easy to get. Absolutely. That is what um, I would suggest. One of the things I think is really important is that I think we need to let go of the expectations that have been informed by society and not by us. Like this idea that when I retire, this is what it's going to look like. Because the reality is, whether through our choices, through things that have happened to us, one, the typical retirement dream, I don't know that that was ever achievable for the vast majority of us. Secondly, um, that may not fit one, the life that we want, and two, the life that we can actually afford given the careers that we've had and that sort of thing. Okay. So, um, letting go of this idea, like I want to keep the big house and hold on to that in retirement and all that, because it may not make sense from a financial standpoint. The other thing is redefining kind of what it could look like. This idea that we're all going to live separately. I can tell y'all from my own personal experience, um, especially because you know the value of the US dollar is doing what it is doing. As much as I enjoy having my own space, co-living is probably going to be an option for me not too far into the future, simply because I want to keep my expenses at a certain level. And given how prices are going up, there's one of two ways I can do that. I can continue to live alone, but move maybe to an area I find less desirable because it is further away from the city center, or move into a super small apartment, an apartment with less amenities, what have you. I can do that, or I can co-live and live in the area that is located where I want to be, that has the amenities. One is not better than the other, but I'm open to all viable options. Okay. And I'm glad somebody mentioned this. I think also when we think about retirement, we think about like, that's it. I will not work ever again. And maybe that is what you want. I'm just going to say it doesn't have to be that way. Maybe somebody is watching this and they're thinking like, I'm never going to be able to retire. Well, it depends on how do you define retirement? What does that look like? Do you mean that I'm never going to be able to work again and I'll be able to spend as much money as I want? That may not be a viable option. But if for you, retirement is I leave this stressful career and I fill my days doing things I enjoy, there may be things you enjoy that can also earn money, and that while you are earning that money, you could maybe afford a slightly different lifestyle. Okay. So, uh, I don't know if there's anybody else here. Okay. You need to be real clear on what you want to do in this phase of life and what you really need and want to do in life. That's really it. I think that's the message here more than anything is you have to be clear on when I say this is what I want, is it because that's what I really want? Is this the thing that will make me happy? Or is it this is what I've been told I'm supposed to want? So what does the life look like that you want? How much does it cost? Okay, what are the ways I can lower my expenses, increase my income? Because remember, it's all about the gap between what you make and what you spend. The bigger that gap is, the more money you have to save, to invest, to move abroad, to do whatever the thing is. Now, on the 18th, we're doing a workshop that is specifically on this to do the math, to figure that out. Everybody is going to define for themselves what financial freedom looks like. And we're going to go through the steps of, okay, so this is what it means to you. Probably doesn't mean the same thing to this other person. How much money do you need? Okay, for your life, how do you figure out what are the steps you need to do? That is on December 18th. If today is the 10th, that means it is 8 days now. And do I have a link? I don't think I do, but there is a link maybe in the description of this video, pickygirltravelstheworld.com/coaching. You can find the link to register for that workshop. Um, yes, let me put it in here. I was not thinking ahead. Travelstheworld.com/coaching. If you want to attend the workshop on December 18th, where we will literally be doing the math, this is the link. I'll make sure it's in the description of this video. 3 of my friends are going to rent a house together and live like the Golden Girls. I think, y'all, I really think that this, I think getting over, and particularly for me, I'm somebody who has wanted to live alone, to be by themselves, have their own space, as far as long as I can remember. I wanted to be out of my mama's house and have my own space. And I tried to do that and ended up getting married. And then I was never alone for 20 years. I have only been alone for where I got to live alone for like 9 years, and I have loved it. But um, I think even somebody like me can find the right folks to live with, to have that community. Because a lot of stuff we be trying to do by ourselves, we historically people have never done by themselves. They've always done as part of a community. And I really think that's what's going to make the difference for a lot of us as we age. Okay, seeing if there are any other questions. Okay, so yes, with the right folks. I ain't telling you to just move in with anybody. You got to find your people. But I think there is the mind shift that has to happen of I need to create this vision of my life and I need to do it solely by myself. I think once we let go of that, we can broaden our horizons and embrace some other options of what it can look like. All right, that's all we have for today. I will see y'all tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'm pretty sure there's another announcement I'm supposed to be making, but I don't remember. But again, if you want to come to the Do the Math workshop, go to the website and where did I put that? And I will have a link in the description. Pickygirltravelstheworld.com/coaching. All right. Bye.